cold breeze pushed through the cracked windows of Miller's diner as the pale sun struggled to rise behind thick, gray clouds. It was one of those mornings that felt drained of life, as if color itself had gone missing. Inside, the faint aroma of burnt coffee and buttered toast drifted across the quiet booths. In the far corner, near the window that no one ever chose unless they had nowhere else to sit, an elderly woman arrived. She came every morning, alone, silent, and always in the same long black coat with a silver feather-shaped brooch pinned near her collar. Her eyes carried the kind of sadness that only comes from losing something once precious. Her name was Eleanor Hayes, and that booth had quietly become her place in the world. Every morning, someone noticed her. Her name was Mara Weaver, a young waitress barely making ends meet, but still managing to offer smiles even when life weighed heavily on her shoulders. Mara was different from the other waitresses. Most came just for the paycheck, but Mara showed up for something deeper, maybe a reason to keep believing that people could still be kind. Her life had been far from easy. Orphaned young, shuffled through foster homes, she learned early that the world rarely gives without taking. Now, at 26, she lived on small tips that barely covered rent. Yet, her spirit refused to break. Each day, when she saw Eleanor sitting alone with trembling hands, something in Mara knew that what this woman needed most wasn't coffee, but compassion. Before we go deeper, if you believe kindness still has a place in this world, if you believe that even small acts can change lives, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to HO Chronicles, and share it with someone who could use a little hope today. Your support helps us share stories that remind the world what truly matters. Mara first noticed Eleanor about 2 months earlier. The old woman never ordered more than tea and dry toast. She would count her coins carefully from an old purse, her hands shaking under invisible weight. Most customers ignored her. Some pitied her, but no one spoke to her. Mara couldn't explain it, but she felt drawn to Eleanor, not out of curiosity, but empathy. The woman's loneliness mirrored her own quiet tears in her small apartment at night. So Mara began to help in small ways. Nothing dramatic, just subtle kindnesses. She brought Eleanor warm toast instead of cold, refilled her tea without charging, sometimes slipped an extra muffin on her plate. At first, Eleanor tried to decline, embarrassed, but Mara always smiled and said, "It's a diner promotion." They both knew it wasn't, but neither mentioned it. Day after day, their quiet friendship grew. Mara learned that Eleanor loved reading by lamplight, once lived near the ocean, and used to smile often. Eleanor learned that Mara worked double shifts because she had no family to lean on, that she walked home since her car had broken down months ago, and that despite it all, Mara believed kindness always finds its way back someday. But Eleanor never spoke about her past, who she was, or what she once had. It was as though she'd erased whole chapters of her story. Then one morning, Mara noticed Eleanor sitting at her booth with red, puffy eyes. She had been crying. When Mara gently asked if she was okay, the old woman finally whispered something heartbreaking. She had nowhere to live. Her landlord had evicted her, and that night she planned to sleep in an old bus station. Mara didn't even think. She reached across the table and held Eleanor's trembling hand. She didn't have savings, didn't have a car, barely had enough food herself, but she couldn't let this woman disappear into the cold. That evening, after her shift, Mara walked Eleanor home, not to the bus station, but to her small apartment. She cleared space, offered her bed, and took the couch. For the next week, she shared meals, washed Eleanor's clothes, and helped her look for assistance programs. More than once, Eleanor cried and asked, "Why are you doing this?" Mara simply replied, "Because no one helped me when I needed it, but I survived because I believed someone would, someday." A week later, Eleanor didn't come to the diner. Mara grew uneasy. The next day, still no Eleanor. On the third, panic took over. After her shift, she ran home, only to find Eleanor gone. The room was spotless, the bed neatly made, but on the pillow lay a small note. Thank you for giving me back hope. Eleanor. No address, no explanation, nothing. Mara felt an ache she couldn't describe. Eleanor had walked out of her life as quietly as she had entered it. She called shelters and hospitals. No one had seen her. Weeks passed. Then, one quiet Tuesday morning, everything changed. Mara was wiping tables when several black SUVs stopped outside the diner. Four men in suits stepped out, bodyguards. The diner went still. Behind them came two lawyers, sharp and composed. They looked around, searching. Who are they looking for? A cook whispered, "Trouble." Another muttered. Then one lawyer asked, "Is there a Mara Weaver here?" Mara froze. "Yes, that's me. Miss Weaver," he said. "We've been instructed to bring you with us." Her heart raced. "Why? What's happening?" "You'll understand soon. Please come with us." Fear twisted inside her, but something deeper, a quiet sense of destiny, made her follow. Moments later, the SUV pulled into an entirely different world. Gated mansions, perfect lawns, and silence wrapped in luxury. They stopped at a grand estate surrounded by tall trees. A bodyguard opened her door as if she were royalty. Inside, soft piano music drifted through wide halls. The lawyers led her to a sunlit room overlooking a snow-covered garden. There, seated gracefully in a lavender dress, was Eleanor Hayes, her hair styled, her eyes bright, smiling gently. Mara gasped. "Eleanor?" "Hello, dear," Eleanor said softly. Eleanor explained everything. She was not a poor widow, not homeless, but the sole heir of Hayes International, one of the nation's largest private investment firms. Wealth had never been her issue. Grief had. 2 years earlier, she lost her husband and only son in an accident. Devastated, she withdrew from her company and the world. She had wanted to know if kindness still existed beyond wealth, if genuine compassion could survive without money's influence. So she vanished, living like an ordinary woman. And that's when she met Mara, someone who didn't know her name, her status, or her fortune, someone who gave everything she could, expecting nothing in return. Eleanor reached for Mara's hands, just as Mara once held hers. Her voice trembled slightly as she said words that would change Mara's life forever. "I don't need a maid or a nurse, Mara. I need a heart I can trust. I want you by my side, not as staff, but as family. If you'll accept, everything I have will one day be yours, not by blood, but by love." You reminded me why life is still worth living. Mara stood frozen, tears streaming down her cheeks. For the first time, she understood. Sometimes, the people you meet are not coincidences. They are answers to silent prayers. They embraced like two souls who had finally found home in each other's kindness. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, subscribe to HO Chronicles, and share it with someone who believes kindness still matters. Your support helps us keep stories of hope alive. Before we end, tell us in the comments, what's the most powerful act of kindness you've ever witnessed? I'll be reading every one, because sometimes all it takes is one small act to turn strangers into family, loneliness into love, and remind the world that no one is ever truly forgotten.